Hi, for my expert video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to use an array formula. So I am an instructional design coach, and one of my responsibilities right now is to vet a curriculum that my district wants to implement. It's 36 weeks long, and I need to make sure that this curriculum hits every standard for first grade social studies. So what I have here is each week in the curriculum, and then I have every state standard listed on the left. So what I want to do is essentially just go through each week, and when each standard is hit, I just want to hit an X to mark that the standard has been touched on during this week and that it's in compliance and essentially move on. So what I want to do though is I want to make sure that everything is added up and I can see when standards are hit, how many times standards are hit, and the frequency. So what I'm going to use is an array formula in order to streamline this process. So right here in column D, this red column, I want to start adding up when standards are hit. And in order to do that, I need to use an array formula. So I'm going to type in array formula, and I want to add up how many times a standard is hit. So in order to add, we're going to use sum. And then I am going to be using an X to mark it. So I need to make sure that this formula is aware of that. So if anytime in row E3 to row AN3 or column AN3, so it's essentially the entire row in this spreadsheet, the third row. Anytime it sees X, I want to give that X a value of 1. And so that way, whenever, and we got to make sure that we close off the parentheses for the syntax, so whenever an X is in this row, whenever an X is placed, it starts counting up the X's. So if standard 1 is hit in week 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, it's going to mark 5 times. So the other thing we're going to do is we're going to copy this formula into all of the other rows. So each row has its own set of counting formulas in order to add up standards. But what we want to do is we want to give administration and counselors and the board a quick overview of how many standards have been hit and when they've been hit. So what we're going to do is we're going to do another array formula up here. Array formula, and we are going to start adding up how many times. So whenever I say add, use sum, we're going to add up how many times each standard has been hit up here to make sure that once you go onto the web page or onto the sheet, you can see how many times each standard has been hit, but also make sure that every standard has been hit. So this is column D, and it starts at D3 and it goes down to D37, and we want to make sure that if D3 to D37 is greater than or equal to 1, because we're giving X the value of 1, we want to give it the value of 1. And I'll explain in a second. And then we'll make it fancy, and we'll add and not money sign. We'll go /34 because there's 34 standards on this page. Standards met, and then we will unparenthesis or unquotation mark. There. So now we see that even though I hit this standard 5 times, it's only going to count it as 1. So even though I hit the standard 5 times, this array formula is only going to count it as 1. Therefore, we know even though I'm hitting standards multiple times, that we still need to hit every standard at least once.